Ever since the legendary transformation of Super Saiyan first debuted in Dragon Ball Z, fans have speculated about just how powerful the form could be. And while information has come out to us over the years, many fans have created their own theories trying to explain just how powerful the so-called Super Saiyan level is. So how powerful are the Super Saiyan transformations? Are they strict multipliers or something else entirely? Well, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of these theories and explaining just how powerful the Super Saiyan forms are. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out. Alright guys, so we are going to be discussing that topic of the Super Saiyan level in the Dragon Ball franchise, and joining me today is someone who is going to also be talking about this subject. You've seen him on my videos in the past, and his name is...
Hey guys, what's up? It's Josh from Dragon Ball Nation here.
Okay, so Josh, today we're going to be taking a look at this because honestly it seems like it's been a theory for a little while that has kind of been, I don't know, frustrating as a fan of this show, especially someone who used to be a lot more into power scaling than Super has kind of allowed me to be recently. Right. So basically this is the topic of whether or not Super Saiyan is a static level of power or basically like a tier of power that someone can reach and be within, in that the particular levels after that, so Super Saiyans 1, 2, and 3 are also like static levels of power, or if perhaps they're actually something else. And Josh, I'm sure that, you know, we've talked about this in the past, so I'm sure that you have a lot to say about this topic. What do you think of this idea that Super Saiyan and the forms are just static levels of power and they do not actually rise over time except for other transformations?
It's funny because I think we both hear all the time. We've heard people say that Goku going Super Saiyan is as strong as he was on Namek still. Like, Super Saiyan will just make him as strong as he was on Namek, or Super Saiyan 2 will make him as strong as, I don't know, what he was in the Buu Saga. And I don't really know where people get the idea of that. I don't know what make them believe that. I always found it pretty puzzling. It's hard to talk about when I can't completely wrap my head around it, honestly. Like, I don't see the evidence for it. Everything we point to kind of shows that Goku grows in power as the series progresses, and his transformations only make him stronger on top of that. It's not like he, like, the same people probably, I would have to imagine, would think Goku's base is still weaker than Frieza and Namek. Like, I don't know.
I mean, it's possible, although I feel like a lot of people now, when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, they've basically got in their minds that Goku, when he doesn't use God Ki, is basically the same levels he was in like the Buu Saga in terms of strength, which I guess in the manga it might be more in that direction. And basically when he goes into his Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue forms, you know, he's already on a completely different level. However, you know, we've seen demonstrated many times that Goku and Vegeta, like right now in Dragon Ball Super with their base forms, are already stronger than characters who have Super Saiyans 1, 2, and 3, like, you know, even a fusion like Gotenks, who Goku and Vegeta were certainly not stronger than Gotenks in the Buu Saga in their base forms. But when it comes to the traditional understanding of how the Super Saiyan forms work, instead of being like a static level of power, so basically anyone who becomes a Super Saiyan is the same level as Goku was on Namek, you know, maybe they can get a little bit stronger within the same range, however they, you know, are not able to get stronger than that until they transform again. But what actually is, according to the Daizenshus, according to the guides, and really from what we can even say from the show itself, is that Super Saiyan is a multiplier. So whatever your base form is at the time, that level of power, so Goku on Namek was 3 million, Super Saiyan is a 50 times multiplier, so he would be 150 million, and Super Saiyan 2 would be 2 times Super Saiyan's multiplier, so 100 times the base form, and Super Saiyan 3 would be 4 times Super Saiyan 2, so 400 times the base form. So Goku, when he gets Super Saiyan 2 during the 7-year gap, and then when he has Super Saiyan 3, does not have the same base level of power as he had when he was fighting Frieza on Namek. I mean, his base is way stronger than that even in the Cell Saga, so, you know, I don't really think that there's any real way to say that Goku is like the same level of strength when he's fighting fighting Yakan as a Super Saiyan as he was when he fought Frieza on Namek.
Right, it's like, are people trying to say that Perfect Cell is like not leagues ahead of Frieza when he clearly is? I mean, it's kind of crazy to me, but thankfully the people that think that are few and far between, but they're out there. I just don't understand where it comes from. Like in this Daizenshuu, you know, we have the multipliers, even though, you know, that's debatable on if they're even applied properly or not.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But, you know, as far as like how we've been told Super Saiyan works up until this point, it is more of a multiplier, you know. But some people also have the concept that perhaps Super Saiyan is something that, you know, the multiplier diminishes over time as they train. So basically, when Goku gets like 5 times stronger in its base form from when he was on Namek, so let's say 15 million, that when he transforms into a Super Saiyan, the multiplier is only 10 times. But, I mean, that would still be basically saying the same thing, that he's the same level of power he was on Namek, and that his base is just stronger, which really, I don't think that there is the evidence anywhere in the anime or the manga to suggest that.
Right, I completely agree.
And, you know, I guess that there might be some confusion because of the Cell Saga. You know, they're all trying to attain the step beyond Super Saiyan, you know, like Super Saiyan Grades 2 and 3, and then eventually the Super Saiyan 2 form. So maybe some people seem to think that because they're trying to achieve higher forms, that means that their base is not getting any stronger and that they're at their limits. But, you know, even when they say that they're basically at their limits in Dragon Ball, they never usually are.
I think of Vegeta and Super when they're going to the chamber, and they've gotten so much stronger since he said that. It's crazy that that was even written, but it's said all the time.
Yeah, so when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, however, you know, that does become another question of if the multipliers that we knew about in Dragon Ball Z and through the guides are still really, I guess, the same multipliers even now. Like, do you think that, you know, Super Saiyan is still 50 times in Super Saiyan 2 is still 100 times, 3, 400 times, and so on? Or do you think that maybe things are different now?
Well, the thing, you know, I guess just off the cuff, without really going in and kind of breaking down chapter by chapter, episode by episode, to really break down what the numbers might be, because obviously math and Dragon Ball never really worked too well. Math, science, both of them just don't combine that well with Dragon Ball. But the only real scene that I can just kind of pinpoint and be like, yes, definitely a 50 times boost is when he fights Frieza. After that, you know, I would say it's very hard to pinpoint where the boost is. They're obviously very great boosts from Super Saiyan, but there's definitely scenes, especially in Super, where it seems like Super Saiyan does not make someone dozens of times stronger. But as to the other forms, what I said off air to you, I feel like when you're going from base to Super Saiyan, it seems like to me that the multiplier might be a lot smaller now, although that could be due to writing or just them not even thinking about the multiplier, I guess. You're just saying, well, this guy's really strong, so who's going to power up to Super Saiyan, and we're not going to think of what number that multiplier is going to be anymore. But Super Saiyan 2 and 3, you know, Super Saiyan 2 being twice the strength of Super Saiyan 1, then Super Saiyan 3 being 4 times the strength of Super Saiyan 2, those numbers seem to be a lot more consistent, although obviously they're a lot smaller numbers you're dealing with. You're dealing with numbers 2 and 4 instead of 50. So yeah, it's obviously a lot easier to say, well, those ones make sense, but 50 looks like it's a lot. I guess it would be very hard to convey Goku getting a 50 times boost against an enemy, every single enemy he fights, you know? It'd be hard to really convey that, I suppose, without power levels, if that makes sense. I guess that's the way I think of it.
Yeah, and one of the things is after the Frieza saga, they really stopped getting into power levels, and they stopped really getting into numbers for the most part. So we can apply the same thing that we, I guess, saw from the Frieza saga, where basically Goku gets the same level of strength in terms of his power up. You know, he gets 50 times more powerful, or whatever would be stronger than Frieza's full power, which was 40 times stronger than Goku's base form. So really, when we think about it, you know, we could use that. But when we get into Super, there are so many situations now where Goku will be fighting someone, and, you know, it seems like that Super Saiyan boost isn't that big. But as far as like 2 and 3 go, they're just a lot easier to explain, you know, the boost and difference of power, because they come after Super Saiyan. So you automatically know 2 is stronger than 1, and 3 3 is stronger than 1 and 2. But Dragon Ball Super at this point has gotten so much into, like, I guess, suppression, and basically that Goku can not only suppress himself in his, like, base and Super Saiyan, because if you remember in the Cell Saga, he was able to lower the power of his Super Saiyan where he could just walk around normally. But now it seems like Goku's Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 can also be lowered to levels that are like his base power, and so can like Super Saiyan Blue and maybe Super Saiyan God at this point. You know, it's so all over the place that it really does make you question either if the multipliers are still the same, if Goku suddenly can just suppress himself to like any level in any form, or if basically like when they're actually writing the episodes out, the writers don't really have like a consistent idea from episode to episode or staff to staff what exactly each form does.
I think we talked about this in the video we did on my channel where we talked about if they had mastered Super Saiyan 2 or not, which was a long time ago, way back in the series, where I think you brought up the idea that maybe that Goku Super Saiyan can kind of tap into the power of 2 and 3, because 2 and 3 are really just, they're ascended forms of Super Saiyan 1. They're not totally different transformations necessarily. They're just power-ups of the original Super Saiyan. So in theory, I mean, Goku should be able to kind of make his Super Saiyan 1 theoretically like the same multiplier Super Saiyan 3, 400 times base. That would be cool if they did that. Obviously, they're not really going into that route, I don't think, because they're still doing Super Saiyan 2 and 3. Whether that's for fan service or not, who really knows at this point? You have to think of, are they trying to make it consistent and do fan service, or are they picking one side or the other, you know? But one thing I gotta say, you know, before we do close this out, is in the Daizenshuu, we have the multipliers of 50 times for Super Saiyan, and that's all we have. We don't have anything on paper contradicting that, or anything being stated to contradict that really necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard, like when you're doing a video discussing power levels or stuff like that, you have to still use that 50 times number, I feel like, because that's all we have. Until we get something different, I don't think we can say, well, it looks like Goku's about 10 times as strong here. We don't really know. That's all I could say. We have the numbers, and we kind of have to just go by it that way, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And really, one of the things is, too, when they were doing that whole section for the guides, where they had listed the different forms, this was after Super Saiyan 3 had already come out. So they had all this time and opportunity to where if they wanted to change the multiplier for like Super Saiyan, for example, or Super Saiyan 2, they very well could have, but they still kept it at 50 times, 2 times Super Saiyan, and then 4 times Super Saiyan 2. So, you know, this was even after the Cell Saga, where Goku was able to, you know, get the mastered form of Super Saiyan.
But even the Super Saiyan made perfect sense against Frieza the 50 times. Yeah. I think Super Saiyan 2's multiplier makes pretty good sense, and I think Super Saiyan 3, it's a lot stronger than Majin Vegeta and Super Saiyan 2 Goku were, you know, and he said he could have defeated Buu, who was easily 2.5 to 3 times stronger than Majin Vegeta, you know, somewhere in that realm. So those numbers make complete sense. But again, it's like we talked in the, I think in the last power video we did on my channel, was when we looked at that Daizenshuu, but we don't know if the writers, when they're writing the show, are really looking back at that stuff or have a good knowledge of what's in the Daizenshuu, what's been written down. They don't really treat it like it's, I guess, the Bible of Dragon Ball.
Exactly. That's one of the things, too, when it comes to, like, the fan base, you know, a lot of times we'll look at this and we'll say, you know, this is fact, this is canon, this is definitely something that applies.
Well, even the Daizenshuu messes stuff up all the time, I think. It contradicts so many elements.
Yeah, there are different contradictory elements. For example, the fact that, like, one of them says that Gohan was a Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura, and one of them, I think, just says he was a Super Saiyan.
Well, the other one, the second one's wrong, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So, basically, you know, when it comes down to it, the extra materials is something that I feel like is always kind of a secondary canon, you know? If it doesn't actually show up in the manga or the anime, they don't for a fact say these things, you know, it's basically us taking information and applying it to the show that isn't necessarily there and isn't necessarily being done right now as we speak.
You really gotta pick and choose what you believe in the Daizenshuu sometimes, I feel like, because there's just so much, there's so much in there that really isn't, and not all of it makes sense.
Yeah, but I tend to go with the normal, like, 50 times and others that we saw in Dragon Ball Z. But, you know, for all we know, in the next episode of Super, they'll be like, oh, Super Saiyan is a 2 times boost. Isn't that a lot? So we'll have to see. But anyway, guys, let us know down below what you think of this topic, whether or not you were someone who thinks that Super Saiyan is more of a static level of power, or if you think that it's something else. Let us know down below. Check out Dragon Ball Nation in the end card and description. And And as I always say, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future. It doesn't matter what level Super Saiyan is, because I could still crush it with one peck.